So this morning's class, I sort of count it as being fairly sort of classic and straightforward stuff, but it doesn't mean it won't be strong, as dynamic classes tend to be. So if you're new to yoga, watching this some date in the future, just work within your own limits, listen to your breath. I'll actually start lying down on the floor, even though I'm sitting up. It just makes it a little bit easier to see the screen. So lying down on the ground, hands by the side of your body. Lengthen the legs out, just relax, open a little bit. And soften your jaw, give it a little wriggle around, wriggle through the shoulders and the neck. Lengthen the spine out, let it flatten down to the floor. Wriggle out the hips, let those legs go loose. Tempting as it is to stay here for a longer period of time, allow ourselves to slide both heels gently along the floor towards us. Bring the knees in, keeping the knees close together, hands on top of the kneecaps as you exhale. Draw the knees towards you, just using the strength of your spine rather than your arms. Allow the knees to move out towards the side as you try and keep the toes together. Begin to exhale as you let the hands and the knees move away from you back to the center line. So as you draw in, the tummy pulls in, you lift your tailbone away from the floor, roll a little bit on the spine, allow those knees to go wide and back out. So some nice big juicy circles. And take a couple of revolutions in the opposite direction. So pushing your way. Still using the abdominal muscles more than you're using the arms. Just getting the pelvis to roll gently off the ground. And we'll bring the feet back down to the floor. We'll lengthen the right heel out and draw the left knee in towards the left armpit. We'll take the hands around the shin. I'm going to try and turn the thigh inwards of the long leg and press out through the heel. Press your heel, calf, and buttock down to the floor. You kind of feel the side muscles above your hips and into your abdominal muscles drawing as you try and press your buttock into the floor. Keep your leg nice and strong and long. We're not really using much effort in the arms. Shoulders are relatively loose. We're just using the weight of the arm and the leg to let the knee transition out towards the side of the mat a little. And we'll slide that right heel back in as we release the left foot to the floor, and we'll swap over, taking hold of the right shin and sliding the heel of the left foot. I know it's tricky to slide the heels along a sticky mat, but I ask you to do that to look after your lower back muscles and to avoid putting unnecessary tension into your hip flexors, which is another way of saying that uncomfortable feeling in your back and your hip as you lengthen your leg out if it's raised off the ground. And we're just going to turn the thigh in a little bit, So the toes point absolutely up towards the sky on that long leg. You try and press the buttock down. You're going to feel the muscles engage and lift a little bit. Might even roll you to the side a fraction. Okay, now release from there as well. Slide the heels back in as we've done before, dropping both feet close to the bottom on the center line as we take the arms out wide, palms facing up. We'll shimmy the hips over towards the right and let the legs roll down to the left. We're going to take a few easy breaths here. Just letting the legs roll as far down to the floor as you can, keeping them loose. Let them just find their own place. Then they migrate a little further as you take breaths. Allow yourself to wiggle the shoulders underneath so they're as flat to the floor as you can allow them to be. And we'll come back up. On the inhale, shimmy to the opposite side, a good few inches, maybe more. And then rolling over to the opposite side. And you might find a difference in your body between one side and the other in terms of how far you can rotate. Don't worry about that, as long as you feel relaxed in the pose. And then we'll lift on the exhale of a breath and realign the spine onto the center of the mat. We're going to take the left leg to the sky as we breathe in. Allow the toes to point to the outside edge of the mat as you rotate the hip. Bending your knee on that left leg, you can bring your left ankle bone to the outside of your right thigh and press your left knee slightly forwards a little bit so you can feel the hips leveling out. Again, we'll move the hips over towards the left a fraction. And then as the hips come back down to the floor, we'll roll the feet and legs over towards the right side. We're trying to get the left foot flat to the floor and the shin as vertical as you can. You're actually pushing your knee gently towards the front of the mat. You'll feel quite a big strain around the top of your hip. You'll find the top of your IT band running in to the pelvis. We'll bring ourselves back up on an exhale. Realign the spine and then extend the leg up, left leg to the sky. Give it a little shake out. Now we'll take the right leg up. Turn the toes on the exhale. Take a breath. Bend on the inhale. Exhale. Just keeping the foot flexed. Moving the hips over to the right this time. Right knee travels forwards a little bit. And slowly move down on the exhale. Top foot on the ground, bottom leg a little bit more relaxed. Trying to press the knee away. Again, we've got this strong feeling into this top of the hip, front edge of the pelvis, down to the center line of the middle of that outside edge. And then you're pressing the knee slightly towards the front of the mat is what keeps that tension and stretches out this muscle that we're looking to get into. Take the last breath here. Allow ourselves to roll all the way back up. Bring the spine back into the center and release that leg to the sky. Give a little shake out. We draw both knees in towards the chest. Scoot the arms around the shins. Bring ourselves into a hug, chin to chest. 2 breaths here, just held in position. You might find you're rolling on your spine a little bit. That's comfortable, that's a good thing. We'll roll onto the right side. Use the hands to press down into the floor. We'll swivel around on our bottoms. Allow ourselves to come back up onto all fours. We're going to use my foot just to push that block out to the end of the mat so it's out of the way. If you were using the same, see follow. We'll spread the fingers out and we'll roll a little bit from side to side. Make sure the knees are underneath the hips. A little bit of movement into those shoulders, and then start to press your way away from the floor. So get a little higher, and we'll take it into cat-cow. We'll draw the chest forwards, tailbone to the sky. Tilt the pelvis the opposite way. The spine to round, head to drop. Inhale forwards. And exhale out. Inhale forwards. Exhaling that long breath. Feeling the spine opening up. Press into the hands and the shins a little as we do this. We'll take it into melting heart. So hands forwards about shoulder distance apart. Lay the chest down towards the ground. We're going to press into the hands, keep the shoulders actively working and the muscles in the arms. Pressing the shins lightly into the floor, drawing the belly in, trying to send the tailbone up and out, following the line of my spine. So we're collapsing into the spine and getting a crunchy feeling. Actually trying to lengthen the spine out a little bit in this pose and keep it long. Now use the fingertips to walk the hands back. As you push your hips over your legs, you'll find the balance transfer a little easier. We'll take a little breath from there and then take the knees as wide as the mat, toes together. Allow ourselves to sit gently down onto our heels into child's pose. Now I'm going to bring the hands underneath the forehead so the elbows are out wide. Just give those shoulders a bit more relaxation. We'll take a little breath from there and let ourselves come back up, sitting. Just the clothing. Hands up into the front end of the mat and we'll move into down dog. So from here on in, we're going to be moving a little more positively, a little bit more flowing. So we'll just pedal the legs out for a moment, get the hands used to the idea of being flat to the floor. And we'll walk the hands in towards the toes, so coming towards the back of the mat, into a forward bend. First one of the day, legs are always a little tired. We'll bring the hands onto the shins, press the feet down. Take a breath. Allow yourself to exhale over your hips. Come onto the shins again. And we fold down. On the shins, lifting up. Come up one more time like this. This time we'll bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little as we lift our way up. Take hands all the way to the sky as we breathe in. Bring the hands through the heart, and we'll exhale down to the floor, just softening the knees a little as we come in. Weight into the toes. Hands onto the hips. Draw our way back up. We'll do 3 of these all together. Number 2. Time coming up. We'll walk into down dog and then immediately start to walk the toes in towards the front of the mat. So with straight legs, small steps, 6 inches or so, and just feeding the feet right up into the front edge of the mat. Bring your hands onto the hips, let ourselves lift. Inhale high, hands into the heart. Hinge over the hips and down to the floor. Taking the right foot to the back of the mat into a lunge. Taking a breath here. So we'll take a twist, right hand down, left hand lifts. And then bring the heel back down on the floor on the right leg, bringing the hands alongside the bodies. Skew your hips a little more over the center line. The tailbone tends to move out at that point. That's us to lift up into our warrior 2. We'll take the hands high and then lengthen out slowly over the front leg on an exhale. Try and keep it long, knee over ankle. Hands to the floor and we step back into that down dog. Adjust the feet as you need to. Now look towards the hands as we come into a plank. Take a breath, push on the tippy toes, elbows into the ribs. Bootlaces change down, we lift up on the breath in. So up dog, trying to keep the legs strong. See if we can roll over the toes or step the feet back into down dog. Now we'll scissor the right leg, keeping the hips and shoulders square to the ground. And then draw the knee in towards the chest, a little squeeze, and down dog. Look towards the hands as you take your breath. Use your exhale to bring your foot towards the front of the mat into lunge. Try to press out through the back leg, keep it long and strong. Push off the toes into a forward bend. Hands come onto the hips, soft knees, and we lift up. Take that all to the second side. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Draw the belly in, soften the knees a little, weight into the toes. Left leg back into the lunge. Check your knees over your ankle. Flat left hand, right arm lifts into the twist. Hands come to the floor. Then we drop the back heel down, ready for warrior 2. Remember to turn the hips again towards the center line. It's a little detail. It might be only an inch. It's rather important. And feeling both legs positively pressing down evenly through both feet. Inhale high with the hands, keeping the back foot pressing down as you lean out. Slow breath down to the floor. We're stepping back into that down dog. Come forwards into the plank, breathing in. Pushing forwards on the tippy toes, bootlaces. Really try to keep the legs strong, press out, active. You'll feel the glutes clench a little bit as you do that. Rolling back into your down dog. We'll take the left leg high, try and keep everything square. Draw the knee in towards the chest, towards the hands. Take the breath, and then bring the foot through on the exhale. Press out through the heel of that back leg, letting the thigh stretch. Push off the toes into your forward bend. Hands onto the hips and let yourself lift. Inhale high. Hands into the heart, couple of breaths. Stronger than you think. Float the arms to the sky again on the breath in. Hands through the heart and exhale down to the floor. Taking the breath, right foot to the back of the mat. Now this time we'll bring the left hand in a little bit and move the left foot out a little more to the side. I'm going to take the right hand forwards about forearms distance and drop the elbow to the ground. Then take the twist. Now I want to press away from the ground. So push that forearm down and press that through the back heel. And try to draw the knee towards the center line a little bit more rather than hanging out to the side. Rotate the chest round as much as you can. Last breath here, bring the hands back to the floor. Onto the inside of that leg. Drop the back heel down. And just transfer the foot back into the place ready for warrior two. A little bit untidy there, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes sometimes in yoga. Sequences don't always look perfect. Hands come high. And rotate out towards the front of the mat. Keep the back foot pressing down. Hands to the floor. Stabbing it back. Come forwards. Plank to half plank to up dog. Avoid dropping too low into that half plank. Just to scissor the right leg in down dog. In towards the chest. Breathe in. And step it through on the exhale. Push out on the lunge. Press from the toes into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips. And we lift up. So last side to play with. Inhale high. Hands come through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Taking a breath. Left foot to the back of the mat. Right foot walks out. The right hand comes in. Left hand moves forwards. We drop the elbow underneath the body. We'll take a big rotation. Press out through the back leg. Try and keep the head in line with the body. Allow the shoulders to open up and rotate round. Squeeze that front knee towards you. Just a fraction. You feel the glutes fire up a lot when you get all these things, these component parts together working. Bring the hands down to the floor. Come back up. Move the foot ready for warrior two lift. Dropping the back heel. Squeeze your hips over again. Hands come through. It's a big, slow lift. Inhale high. Rotate out slowly. Into our down dog. And the forwards for the plank, half plank up dog. Down dog. And exhale. Inhale the left, leg high. Draw the knees, squeeze it in. Take a breath. Bring the foot through. Lunge, last press out through that back heel. Push off the toes. Forward bend. Hands onto the hips. Lift our way up. Inhale high again. Hands into the heart. Connecting your breath all the way down to the floor. Feeling that breath kind of spread out through the feet into the ground. Like roots of a tree. And from that strong foundation, we'll take the hands to the sky again, breath in. And through the heart. I'm going to soften the knees over the toes and sit back into chair. I'm going to keep the hands in towards the heart as we take a breath and move the weight into the left leg. We'll slide the right foot back into lunge and drop the heel in and open up into warrior two. Adjust your feet if you need to, if you didn't land quite perfectly. And then extend out over the front thigh. Bring your forearm to press into that inner groin a little as you take your top arm up towards the sky to 12 o'clock. Turning the palm forwards, keeping your chest pointing to the long side of the mat. Going to swing your arm around into just nice big circles like a windmill. Just check the front knee is over your ankle. You can have a little look down. Hopefully it's all nicely aligned. And we'll use the arm coming back to lift into our warrior two. Hands high. Rotate. Lengthen out halfway, keeping the back foot pressed down. Take a breath. And then bring the hands to the floor as you exhale. We'll lift the back heel and move from the lunge into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little. Let ourselves lift. Whew. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Soften the knees. Feet about hip distance apart. Sit back into the chair a little deeper. And shift the weight into the right foot. Slide the left leg back gently into the lunge. Drop the heel in. And open into your warrior two. Again, just making little adjustments if you need. Lengthen out over the front thigh. That forearm just presses in a little bit. The leg offers a little bit of resistance to the arm. We're actually keeping the body lifted rather than sinking. Pressing the back foot down. Trying to get as much weight into that back leg as we can, the front leg. It's a lot easier on the front leg. You don't really have to think about that. Again, we'll use the arm coming back to lift into our warrior two. Put hands high. Rotate the hips. Allow yourself to lengthen out halfway. Back foot pressing down. Bring the hands to the floor. Step the back heel to the sky. And push off the back foot into that forward bend. Hands over the hips and let ourselves lift up. Set hands high on the breath. In towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Hands onto the shins, lifting up halfway. Forwarding down to the ground. Shins to lift halfway. And down to the ground. And shins for the last time. Hands onto the hips. Soften the knees a little bit. Hands forward this time and ease into a gentle back bend. Press the hips a little towards the back of the mat. Avoid going too deep. Allow yourself to lift your hands out of your pelvis. Spine lengthens. Arms are drawn away. Hands back in towards your heart as you exhale. Now soften the knees again. Get back into that chair pose. Take a little breath. Take the weight into the left foot. Slide the right foot back into lunge. Drop the heel in. Allow yourself to come into your warrior two. Now take a breath and bring the hands high. As time as we turn the chest and the hips, we're going to lift the back heel so we come into high crescent. Then from there, on the exhale, we'll let the back knee gently come down all the way to the floor. So we're into a low crescent. Bring the palms together above the head. Interlace the fingers. Index finger points towards the sky. Untuck the toes on the back foot just for a little bit more stability, pressing the shin into the floor. And then taking a side bend on the exhale over towards the right side. Come back into the center. Move over to the other side. Into the center. Hands come to the ground. Back knee lifts away from the floor as the toes tuck underneath. Bring hands alongside the body. Draw them forwards. All the way into high crescent. Bring the hands in towards your heart as you lean over the front thigh. Push off the back toes into the front of the mat. All simple moves, but very strong on that front leg. Then hands high again, breath in. Hands into heart. Soften the knees. So back into chair. Weight into the right as the left leg slides back. Drop the heel in, open up into your warrior two. Inhale the hands high. Arms face in, we rotate chest, hips, spin on the back foot. Hold that high crescent for a moment. Just to breathe in. And then slowly use the exhale to come down to the floor. Untap the toes again as you bring hands together. Index finger points up, and we exhale over to the left. Try to draw yourself out of the pelvis. Inhale up. And over to the opposite side. Come back. One more time to each side. Bring hands down to the floor. Just onto the fingertips. Tuck the toe on the back foot, lift the knee. Bring the hands alongside the body. Float the arms forwards. Lift yourself into that high crescent. Bring the hands in towards your heart as you lean forwards over the front thigh. Push off the back toes into that forward standing position, and we breathe. One more round. To each side, hands high. In towards the heart. Soften the knees over the toes. Into the chair. Take a breath and slide your right foot back. Drop the heel to open into your warrior two and adjust as you need. Inhale the hands high. Above the shoulders, rotate, spin the back heel. Breath in. Use a slow exhale to come down. And tuck in the toes. Hands come together. Over towards the right. Side bend. Inhale it up. To the left. Once more to each side. Hands to the floor. Back leg lifts. Hands alongside the body. Arms lengthen out, we lift. High crescent. Hands towards the heart. Lean forwards, push off the toes. Big exhale. Forward standing position. Last side. Hands high. And towards the heart. Soften the knees. Back into the chair. Left leg slides back. Drops the heel in. Warrior two opens up. Hands come high. We'll rotate into that high crescent position. Use the exhale to come down. Onto the toes as you bring the hands together. Over to the left. To the center. To the right. Center. One more to each side. To the floor again. Take a little breath. Push off the toes. Bring hands alongside the back of the body. Float those arms forwards. Strong lift on the exhale. Hands in towards the heart. Lean forwards. Push off the back toes. Exhale it. Whew. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. And breathe. Close the eyes if you wish. Just check your feet feel like they've settled parallel to each other in line and about hip distance apart. Now, I'll step away from the front end of my mat just so it's a little easier to see because some of the furniture, so you can stay at the end. So we'll take a deep forward fold. And this first version was just going to hook the index finger, middle finger around the big toe. So when you're ready, allow yourself to exhale over the hips. And just lift your big toes enough to get those index finger, middle finger underneath and press the toe into the fingers. Thumbs are pointing forwards a little bit. And you can allow yourself to lengthen your body out of your hips. So you're trying to flatten the spine a little bit. Roll the shoulders away from your ears. Try and keep them nice and long. And this time you're going to press the legs and the feet down into the floor. Drawing the belly in. We're letting the back of the legs open out. Mine is shaking and trembling. The quads above the knees. Not too sure what's going on. And take another breath here. Allow ourselves to fold down on the exhale and the elbows move out to the side to keep space through the shoulders. Still trying to press the feet down. I let my body hang. I'm not really pulling. It might look like it, but I'm not trying to pull into the hands too much. They're relatively relaxed. And I'm doing everything I can to press the feet into the floor and get a bit of a rebound from the ground beneath me. Take one more breath here and then release. And I'm going to soften the knees, sit back until my ribs and thighs touch, and then allow the hands to come out in line with the body. We're going to lift up halfway, coming into chair pose, and bring the hands in towards my heart. I'm going to take this into a revolved version, just taking the right elbow out towards the left. Now I'm going to try and keep the knees the same distance apart as my feet, which is a wide setting, so not quite chair-esque, but chair enough to feel like you're working. We'll rotate round slowly to the opposite side. We'll come back into the center. Now this time as we open the legs up, oof, we're going to see if we can take the right hand palm towards the sky underneath the right foot. You're trying to get your toes in towards the wrist joint. I'll do the same with the left. So you do what you want to have your feet hip distance apart. Allow yourself to fold over the hips. Whew. Press your toes into the wrists so your hands get fatter to the floor. Just take a little time to kind of build your confidence up if you're not used to this pose. And then we'll relax. Just ease the fingers forwards. Take a little breath from there. Back into a down dog. Bring the knees to the floor. And keep the knees relatively close together. And bring the hands underneath the forehead, elbows out wide. Just let the lids relax. Recover a little bit from that work. Breaths. Breathe into the belly. Using that powerful diaphragm to inhale slow and long from deep down inside you. Also provide a gentle massage to your spine, which has done a lot of work with those forward bends. A combination of working on balance as we've been moving through those leg poses. As I said at the beginning, it's a kind of classic but strong, slow class today. Okay, we're going to let ourselves lift up. And we'll bring the hands in towards the front of the mat. And allow the knees to come together. We're going to come into pigeon pose. I'm going to keep it nice and easy. And just take the left knee to the outside of the left wrist. And we're going to bring the heel onto the center line of the mat. So not taking the knee quite so, or the foot quite so far forwards. I'm actually going to walk the right foot back as well to lower the hips down to the floor. And start to draw the belly in. And relax the shoulders back so get a nice easy lift. Just taking advantage of a few breaths to let the hips sink down, let the joints open up, let the muscles get used to the idea of where they are. And then I'm going to draw the belly in a little more consciously and press the tailbone down towards the floor to start taking the weight out of the hands a little bit. So as you press your tailbone down, in theory, the pelvis sort of tucks underneath you a little bit. And that means you can come to a slightly more aligned position above your hips and your pelvis. And then obviously it takes less effort to hold you up. So you can sort of tell whether this is going well for you by looking at your fingertips. If they're straining away and going white on the ends, you know, you've still got quite a lot of weight in there. If they're relatively pink or moving in that direction, then you know that you're doing the work to hold your body up. Also, it's much easier on the wrists as well, as an advantage. Okay, now I'm going to slowly bring myself out of that. So hands flat to the floor again. I'm going to walk the back foot in a little bit. So push forwards, change the weight position in the leg so it can untangle and stretch that out relatively easily. I'll bring your knees back underneath me. Allow myself to take the right knee out, then on the center line, walk the left foot down line of the mat. Again, just taking a few breaths here, supporting myself, letting the hips sink. So I'm holding the abdominal muscles in a little bit, but not using them, I would say, fully engaged. Now, if you've got very open hip sockets and long muscles in your legs, you're unlikely to need this little pause quite so much as I do. But eventually we start to tuck the tailbone down, so as to lift into the fingertips. So you can definitely feel the buttocks working more as you're pulling the tailbone down towards the floor. Belly's drawn naturally in a little more anyway. We're gradually taking the weight out of the hands. I'm trying to keep the spine sort of over the center line of the mat rather than leaning out to the side. Can be tempting to lean into the leading leg. And then we can release from there as well. So hands flat to the floor, knee forwards a little bit, just push the toes on the back foot a couple of times, bring yourself back. Whew. Okay, now I'm going to take a little breath here. Move towards the back of the mat. I'm going to stretch the hips a little more. So I'm going to have the block out to the side now. Come back up onto all fours and bring my knees together so the thighs are touching, toes are touching. Just simply take the left foot forwards and wrap it over the right leg. So thigh on top of thigh, no gaps. And then pivot the knees so the feet can move out to the side and roll slowly back. Allow myself to come onto that block. So if you just put it behind, now some people are not going to need the block, that's fine. If you're able to take your feet even wider, perfect. But for most of us, trying to keep the thighs together and keeping the feet out to the side. I find that that edge of my foot is really bony, and to be quite honest, on a hard floor, that is unpleasant. So that would be another reason for keeping your legs onto the mat. I suppose you could always do this turning the opposite way, and then you have plenty of room if that's the problem. But we're just going to sit here and relax with these legs nicely wrapped around and wait for the hip joints to open by themselves. And then we'll let ourselves lift. Now it's worth taking the block out again to the side just to make space so you can untangle and move around freely. You can stretch the legs out again if you wish to. It is big and strong on those hips. It's very similar to that feeling we had on the top outside here, but now it's on the back side of that hip joint. We'll take the right leg forwards, stretch over, squeeze thigh to thigh. Allow the feet to go out wide as you can, knees back, just making sure your knees feel happy as you move in. Any sharp pains obviously move back out. So to sit and rest. Use the hands again to lift up. Remove the block out again. Tangle the legs. We'll take a couple of rounds, a cat-cow. And finally, we'll work on thread the needle. So taking the right hand up towards the sky as we breathe. Now folding it underneath. And press the shoulder down into the floor to take some of the weight out of the neck. Press the shins into the ground as well. And providing you're able to press your your shoulder easily into the ground and take some of that supporting weight, then you can take the left hand up towards the sky. Turn the palm to the opposite side of the mat from you, and just fold your arm around and bring your fingers towards the front thigh on the right side. And squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit. Once you're in position. And we'll take the hand back up. Bring that down to the floor. Press out on an exhale. Take a couple of rounds, cat-cow. Back into that neutral position. And take the left arm up. Fold that underneath. Again, press the shoulder into the ground. Making an assumption you've reached there. And then if you feel you can take the weight out of the neck a little bit, you can then take that right hand up. It's not worth the risk if you're not able to press your shoulder effectively into the ground. You just compress your nerves in your neck, and you never know, you could be unlucky with that. Something to avoid. I'll take the hand back up. Roll it round. Use the exhale to press away from the floor. A couple of rounds of cat-cow. Then we're ready to come down to Shavasana. So, as ever, keep the knees high, hands behind chin towards the chest, and roll your spine gently. Use the strength of your back, your abdominals, your shoulders. Ease yourself down. If you struggle with that, it's more than okay to just roll onto your side edge and bring yourself down to the floor that way. The feet slide along, heels of floor, toes roll out eventually when the legs reach the ground. Wriggle out through the hips and the shoulders as you close your eyes. Loosen your jaw a little, give it a little wriggle around. Last chance to roll those shoulders underneath. And then we're going to see if we can be absolutely still. for the next few minutes, avoiding the temptation to scratch and itch, move around. It's just a desperate need of your body to try and release muscles that might be struggling to release. And this is where the mind over matter part comes. You're going to let any tension in the body just seep away as you exhale. We'll begin to wriggle the fingers and toes, breathe a little deeper. Slowly start to roll the wrists and ankles so we can turn the nervous system and connect it back on slowly. Take a few more deeper breaths and then allow ourselves to use that energy to stretch in any way that feels appropriate for your body. Just follow your instincts, whatever your gut tells you to do. And we'll slide the heels along the floor towards us to start with, to bring the knees a little closer. We'll bring one leg at a time in to give ourselves the gentlest of hugs. Keeping it really soft, easy on the breath. You can roll a little on the spine, make some circles with the knees, whatever feels good. And when you're ready, we're going to take a breath and roll towards the right side, keeping the knees in towards the body. Turn the chest towards the floor as we use an exhale to lift. slowly and gracefully back up to sitting. And then we're done. Let the hands come in towards our heart. So we close the eyes, taking a breath. And on a slow exhale, let the chin drop. Feeling the belly draw to the spine, we bow to the floor, sealing our practice for the morning. And as breath comes back in, spine lifts, head forwards, eyes open. Namaste. Thanks for joining me on the mat. See you again soon.